what I think the priority for any photo that you take is being calculated is determined by how many points the photo you're about to take is worth. What does this have to do with the priority? Well, I think what it has to do today is that the higher the points for the photo are that you're about to take, the higher the priority is. So let's say you have ghostwriting on the book, on the bed, wherever, and you have a fingerprint on the window. And you step back and you take both at the same time because you don't know about the fingerprints on the window, for example. I think what will show up is fingerprints when the amount here is higher than the interaction. Right? Because the ghostwriting is interaction. It could also show interaction instead of fingerprints if you, for example, you get 40 points for the interaction, but only 15 for the fingerprints. Then I believe the interaction is prioritized. Because the number determines the priority, right? The higher the priority. Which is also kind of funny because sometimes you get, like, if you want to take photos of something that you've heard being thrown and you take a photo, you get a footstep. Why? Because a footstep might have a higher score, higher number in that particular event than the interaction has. Because the object being thrown, for example, could have a 20 or 21, 22, 23, whatever, but the footstep could have been a higher number, which is why you got the footstep instead of the object being thrown, the interaction. What I tested was I did 10 runs on Tanglewood, more than 10 ones, but 10 runs where I had the board and the bone on the same map. So I placed the board on the bone, or like next to the bone, so in the general area, and I took a photo of both. I wanted to see what happens. My theory was that since the bone has a higher average and like higher points in general than the board, more often than not, I should get the bone photo before I get the board photo. Turns out it's not that way. It's not that way, not because like it's happened once or not, it didn't happen at all. I got 10 out of 10. The board had priority over the bone. Could be probability, could be unlucky, could be whatever the hell, but I'm assuming there is a reason for this. The reason that I think it is because the board does not spawn on every map. It gets a fixed priority, like really high. You should get the photo of the board because it's so rare. That's why I believe the board has a fixed priority, so the numbers here don't matter, right? Same though with dirty water. So imagine this, you are in the bathroom and the ghost makes stinky in the sinky, right? The dirty water rises up, it just happened, so you can take 2 photos. The first one will be dirty water, even though the points are a measly 15 to 30 and the interaction is 20 to 40. What I've seen is that you always get dirty water before you get interaction. Why, you might ask? Well, it used to be an objective. The dirty water used to be an objective, so I think what they came in to do was to make sure you got that. If you get dirty water, you want to make sure you get the photo for dirty water before you get the interaction. So that has a fixed high priority as well. So my main evidence for why I'm thinking this is the way it is, like the points here determine the priority of the photo, is this guy. Imagine you are in the ghost room. The ghost spawns, and like a second before he threw around a couple things. An object being thrown, a door being opened, fingerprints happening in the background. At the same time the ghost spawns, you step back, take a photo of all the carnage happening. What shows up in the ghost book in the journal is the ghost. Why? Because the 100 are fixed. It's the highest amount you can get. The highest amount of points. You can only get 100 for the first ghost photo that you take. So I think this is why you always get the ghost prioritized in your journal. This is what I believe is the case. So the ghost has 100 points. It's always top priority for the photo camera. Anything else, priority is determined by the numbers you see here. And there is one more thing. There are voodoo dolls, right? You can take interactions of them. Remember? Most of you already know that. But what I tested this morning on Bleasdale was because I assume the numbers here determine the priority of the photo. I tried to see which doll of the 3 on Bleasdale, I neglected grafting because it was only 2, which dolls of the Bleasdale farmhouse have the highest priority. So what I did was I gathered the 3 dolls and I lined them up in a certain way. The left one was the one from upstairs. The middle one was the one from the drawer, the closet thing, whatever that is. And the right one was the one from the room behind the lamp. So the first room on the left when you enter Bleasdale. I always did that in exact that order. I tested that, and it turns out the one from upstairs has the lowest priority because I always took the one from the room first. I lined them up next to each other. I stepped back, took a photo of all of them, and it was always the one on the right, so always the one from this room, that was one taken. The second one was the one from the cupboard, and the third one was the one from upstairs. And then I tested the following. I took all 3, right, all 3 interactions, interaction 1, 2, and 3, all the 3 dolls, went back to the truck, went outside the game, and it gave me $15 for photos. So 3 interactions, $15. That means if you look at these numbers, I got 15. So my points that I got for the dolls would have been below 100, so 99, or at least 50, right? At least 50 or 99, like in that range, my dolls would have been. But the dolls are interactions. Let's look at what interactions are. Interactions are lowest 20, but highest 40. We know it couldn't be 40, 40, 40, right? That would have been higher than 99, greater than 99, not possible. It could be 20, 20, 20, 60, but that would go against my assumption that this number determines priority. The lowest one, I'm assuming, would be 20, then 21, and then 22, right? That would be worst case for the numbers. But that would give me 63 points as the lowest possible minimum that I could get from all the 3 dolls. So the upstairs doll, the cabinet doll, and the room doll will give you at least 63 points, but at maximum 99, right? And they have like a certain amount of priority to them. So I took the room doll and the cupboard or cabinet, whatever, doll, and see how much money I get from those 2. And it turns out I got $10. I would be below 50, but at least 1. So 1 to 49. My dolls would have been in that range. Both of them. The 2 highest dolls that I had are in 1 or 14. Well, 1 can't be because we get at least 20. 1 can't be. So therefore, my 2 lowest ones, which I'm assuming are going to be at worst 21 and 22. So 43. 43 would be the points that I had to minimum get to get $10. 2 dolls gave me still less than 50, a highest of 49 points, which means they're around like the low end of the possible range of 20 to 40. I kicked out the lowest doll from upstairs. I didn't even photograph that. I took the 2 other ones and I got $10. And it's always the same thing. I tried it multiple times. It's always given me that. The priority was always the same. The amount of money was always the same. So I'm assuming the interaction photos from the Voodoo dolls themselves are always the same amount on points at every goddamn Bleasdale map. Because I tried it multiple times on multiple difficulties, amateur, intermediate, and professional, off screen. Some of them I just did like an hour ago. But it's always the same. So this is interesting for some people out there. Let's say you are doing some sort of challenge and you can't use UV, for example. You might be able to take a photo of a door that has been interacted with by the ghost to leave fingerprints on, right? But you're not sure if you have a fingerprint ghost. What you can do is to place a doll right in front of that door and take a photo of the doll and the door at the same time. In case of the dolls, you should take the one from upstairs. The one from upstairs, because that has the lowest amount of points for interaction. Place that next to the door, take a photo. The chances are higher that you get fingerprints on it because the interaction worth for that doll is low. And if you tried that already, take the one from the cupboard after that, because that is the second highest. Again, I'm gonna hopefully have this somewhat linked in or like visualized on the screen. TLDR, the dolls have priority. The one from the room is the highest, the one from the cupboard is the second highest, and the one from upstairs is the lowest ones. They are, in terms of evidence points, on the low end, on the really low end, each of them, even the highest ones, are on the low end of 20 to 40. You should never take those interaction photos from the Voodoo dolls if you have a chance of getting anything else. The link for today's VOD is in the description of this video. Also, the links to these two are in the description, so you can check them for yourselves and refer back to them when you want to. So I guess this is all I wanted to talk about. Oh, this was on patch 0.26.6 on Bleasdale. Multiple difficulties, professionals most of the time. This morning it was all professional, but I did some testing a couple of hours ago as well. So if this was any helpful to you, if you like this, leave a like, leave a subscribe if you want to. If not, then that's fine. If you don't want to min-max that, you just play the game how you want it to play it, and that is fine as well. So have a good day, have a good night, wherever you're from, and goodbye.